What's going on, everyone? James Livingston here, back again, bringing you guys a video. This time today we're going to be going over some stocks that I think have some really solid upside potential here in the coming days, weeks, maybe even months. So let's just get right on into it, go over some of these stocks. So one of the ones that I've been looking at the most, and you guys have seen on my channel here before, is Upstart Holdings. So I've talked about Upstart Holdings before because I saw that just how beaten down it was for the longest time. And back when we started talking about it before, it was right around this push up here, pullback, and then it had the run up about 6, 7, 8 months ago up to the 80 to 90 area. Now recently Upstart has been getting a lot more of upside push and momentum, and so I got on my radar again. Now with Upstart, again, looking on the monthly overall time frame, we can see here very beaten down, been pushed down for quite some time. We're seeing a lot of stocks that have been beaten down starting to make U-turns, starting to make those pushes to the upside. Robinhood, Bull, Webull, another good one that's kind of already had its move here. Roblox, another one that was just kind of beaten down for quite some time and has since made that nice U-turn. We're starting to see similar patterns on stocks like Upstart and other ones I'm going to go over here. So with Upstart on the monthly, still holding and maintaining that overall trend above our EMAs, the 20 EMA, the 60 EMA, and the 200 EMA, the main ones I like to watch out for. Now, when we go down on the weekly time frame, we can see here that there's still some room even here on the weekly for lower midterm kind of movement, if you will. This is what I like to call, this could take, maybe the next couple of days, maybe like a week or two to play out. And I think that there's actually some opportunity to see this one get up towards $80 here very soon. Now that's just on the midterm. Of course, like I said, on the monthly, this thing's got a lot more time. And I think, given the circumstances, this thing has the potential to even, 100% from where it's at in the next 6 to 9 months. Now, if I had to put a realistic timeline on it, I'd probably put around June, July of next year to see these kinds of levels. But based on the momentum, if we could really get a strong push back up over 80s into the 90s, possibly break 100, this thing could really get moving quick. Now, I'm a very technical trader, guys, so I'm simply looking at this based on just the technicals. I don't know much about the company. I don't know how their cash flow is, and I don't know their upcoming business model, anything like that. I'm just simply looking at a beaten down stock that I think has the potential to keep moving very aggressively. Now, down to a technical standpoint of what I'm looking at here on the daily time frame, we've kind of got a very clear inverse head and shoulder breakout. So what do I mean by that? You can see clearly right here, we have a shoulder, we have a head, and we have another shoulder. You got that neckline right in here, break, retest, and now we have the continuation off of that. So that's kind of what I'm watching there, is the continuation off of that break of the inverse head and shoulders, a very bullish pattern. Now, the other thing that's a little bit intriguing to me here is we have a little bit of a daily fair value gap. So if you're not familiar with like some ICT smart money concepts, a fair value gap is essentially when you have an aggressive move down and we have all this kind of open space here that the price action tends to bounce back into and have a reaction. So we're just now starting to enter into this fair value gap at the time of this recording here on July 6, 2025. And we can see we've already gotten up to the 74.38, 74.40 area. Now, I do believe that there's a little bit more room for this to push if it wants to, and maybe even continue on pushing higher and higher up towards these mid 80s in the coming days / weeks. So that's kind of the idea here with Upstart. It's definitely looking prime to me on the larger time frame for maybe a possible swing style stock. If you're looking at options, maybe this is a good one that you can look at, 6 month out options for $100 strike price from this area, $90 strike price, a little bit out of the money, and just kind of let it ride. Now, in an ideal situation, I would say, just based on how much we've been pushing up on this, I would definitely wait for a slight pullback in this. I think that there's going to be a pullback at some point, especially as we approach this fair value gap. I think we can start to see it pull back into the low 70s for a better entry, maybe even the high 60s. So just want to keep on your radar Upstart. I've been raving about it. I love this stock. I like the way it moves. It's under my fave to trade list for a reason. So that is Upstart. Now, another one that's kind of having a very similar situation in its formation, being that inverse head and shoulders pattern, is Unity Software. So we're seeing a lot of these tech companies starting to really ramp back up and push back up. We can see here on a monthly basis, this thing is pretty badly beaten down. It's actually hovering under its monthly 20 EMA at the moment. So nothing saying that this is absolutely bullish just yet. But something worth noting is on the weekly time frame here, we have a very similar pattern, that inverse head and shoulder style pattern that we saw there on Upstart. So now the neckline for this one is looking like it's somewhere around this $28 range. Once we break that $28, or if you want to be a little safer, the weekly high $28.40, I think that there's a good chance that we can get that breakout retest right in here, and then potentially the continuation back on up into those 30s. So we're looking at about a $26 stock right now that has potential to go over $30 relatively soon. Now again, this is on the weekly time frame, so it's going to take a little bit of time to play out. But this is one of those stocks that when it starts to break out of formations, it likes to run up in a week's time, possibly $8 at a time. So even on this initial first move, depending on when you see this video, could provide a nice pump up of about $8 or so. But in the long term, I think that this has a potential, if that inverse head and shoulders can play out, to potentially start pushing up to these monthly highs from, back in December of 23, July of 23, so almost 2 years ago. Again, up in that close to $40 range. I think Unity is primed for a move. It just needs the volume right now, it needs to break out of that key level there at the 28.40 area. So definitely keeping an eye on that one here moving forward. And last but not least, one of my more favorite stocks to trade and one of my favorite things in the world, which is Starbucks coffee. I'm a huge coffee lover. You can see here Starbucks has a very unique formation right now. You have a nice round bottom followed by a potential handle, maybe a little bit of a cup and handle style pattern. Could continue on up here very, very soon. Now, Starbucks historically has struggled with that $100 level. As we've seen in the past, $100 has always kind of held weight to it outside of a push on earnings back in January, but historically it does seem like once you get to test of that $100, we get a big pop out of it. So as of right now, this thing still does need to break out of a key level, mainly this 95, 95, 96 area, in order to see some of those highs get pushed at $100. Once we break $100 though, guys, we do have some leg room. We get a little bit of room up to the 104 area, potentially even a push up towards the 110 again. So I like Starbucks here, possibly for a couple of days hold, maybe even a couple of weeks to months. This thing definitely has potential to get back up towards the top of its traditional range that it has here in the 109 to 110, 111 area. Now on the flip side of that, just keeping an eye out, we do have a potential for this just being a pullback for a bear flag, right? We have this pull down followed by the consolidation up to a key level at 100. We could very well see that $100 break that down and continue a downtrend lower. So just keeping that in mind, that is a possibility. But given that this one has just been consistently making the higher lows here, as you can see, higher low right there, higher low right here, higher low right here, higher low right here, the trend is overall on the larger time frames still very bullish on Starbucks. So I am pretty bullish on this one as well. Again, with all these stocks, Upstart, Starbucks, and Unity Software, these are mainly swing style trades. I'm talking days, weeks, maybe even months out before they can hit these levels or these key areas. So definitely wants to keep an eye on, keep on your watch list here moving forward. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy. Let me know what you think about these stocks in the comments down below. Do you think that Unity, Upstart, and Starbucks can really get their traction going? Please leave a like and, of course, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.